3 years ago, my wife, Jeannie, was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer, the worst kind. When discovered, the cancer had already started to spread, so it was too late for surgery and radiation. We knew that she was terminal. We had 3 years to prepare and to grieve. She died December 15th, just 6 months ago. In my 10 minutes presentation, I plan to share some of the things we have learned from this experience. I will try to provide some insight into how and why we have been so successful coping with the tragedy of the loss of a wife and mother, when so many other people have such difficulty doing so. I'm going to begin my presentation with a summary of the talking points or takeaways I want to share with you. This will give you a framework before we get into the details of our own experience. The first takeaway is the word resilience. Resilience is the ability to cope with whatever life throws your way. The second takeaway may be a surprising one for you. It's the word practice. Having faced cancer before strengthened our ability to cope the next time and the time after that. Number 3, we used every resource available. We took advantage of community services. We used the internet to seek out other resources, both educational and medical. Number 4, we reached out to others. We didn't face this alone, and when we knew there was no hope, we grieved publicly. Number 5, we built new memories. We built new memories to take my wife's mind off of her treatments and to give my family memories to carry us forward after she was gone. Number 6, we faced my wife's inevitable death head on. We didn't hide from the truth. We didn't pretend there was going to be a cure when we knew there wasn't one. Number 7, I wasn't afraid to think the unthinkable. I began to think about what I would do after she died. Should I sell the house? Should I remarry? I felt guilty at first, having these thoughts. Then I realized that even while I was still caring for her, I needed to take care of my own emotional needs. And that's the 8th takeaway. I was willing to take care of my own emotional needs. And number 9, the last, we told her story, celebrated her life and the life we had together, and we created a lasting legacy. In the end, all that remains are our stories. Everything else is impermanent. Stories are the secret to our immortality. The following is our story. My parents survived the Great Depression and the Second World War. You may be younger than I am and may have been your grandparents who had this experience. They taught us to be resilient. This is a skill that can be learned, and we taught our own children, no matter what happens, to make the best of a bad situation. My wife had had breast cancer twice before, once 23 years ago, and then again 13 years ago. I'm ashamed to say that both times she was diagnosed, I gave her very little support. Fortunately, these cancers were discovered early and required only minor surgery and radiation, and we returned to normal, or at least as normal as one can after diagnosis of cancer. This time, when my wife was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, we started going to Gilda's Club together. We used every resource available in the community, ELLICSR, Willow, Gilda's Club, and the CCAC. We requested tours of 3 hospice facilities so that my wife could decide which one she wanted to go to when the time came. We used the internet as the resource to learn as much as possible about the disease and about cancer research. And I tended to do this in bursts, like I would get on and just research, and then I had to pull away for weeks at a time, like it became too much. But then I would go back because there was value in doing that, and I did it when I needed it. And we engaged the help of family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors. Some people hide the fact that they have cancer. We took the opposite approach. We grieved publicly. We reached out to everyone we knew. I created distribution lists for email and snail mail with over 400 addresses. Our daughter and son use Facebook and social media extensively, but I want to make the point that we only communicated when we had something important to say. And we always balanced the bad news with other news. When people said, "Please let us know how we can help," I noted who really meant it. And when the time came, I wasn't afraid to ask. For example, when I had to have a hernia operation, I called 6 different couples and asked each of them if they would be willing to bring lunch for my wife, myself, and the 2 of them to share. We made a social occasion out of it. They brought so much food that not only took care of lunch, but took care of dinner and took care of some of the other meals. And it was great. Now, they did this because they couldn't do anything about my wife's cancer. But my asking gave them something tangible that they could do. When we joined Gilda's Club, we were no longer isolated. Gilda's is one big, happy family. It's comfortable. We could be ourselves, share our concerns, and get lots of hugs, and thanks, Judy. Everyone was very understanding. It's all about people helping people. My wife was a remarkable and very brave woman. Despite having been diagnosed with terminal cancer, she wanted to continue to enjoy life in every way possible. She wanted new experiences, things she could look forward to that would take her mind off her treatments. And we wanted to build a legacy of memories to carry us forward after she's gone. 2 years ago in May, my wife and I flew to Australia to spend 3 weeks with our daughter. My wife photographed kangaroos, petted koala bears, and sampled some of the best wines that Australia has to offer. Then that October and November, we took an even more adventurous trip. This time it was 6 weeks in South America. We celebrated our 49th wedding anniversary in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Then we boarded a cruise ship and sailed through the Panama Canal and down the Pacific coast around Cape Horn and north to Buenos Aires and Rio de Janeiro. By April of last year, my wife's fatigue was overwhelming. 2 years of chemotherapy had taken a terrible toll. She had reached the point where her quality of life was more important than prolonging her quantity of life by several months at most. In May last year, she decided to stop all further treatments. It was her decision, and reluctantly we supported her. My wife called a family conference, told us her wishes, and dictated her own obituary. With that out of the way, she had a terrific summer. Within a month, she had regained her strength, vitality, and zest for life. Every day she went out for a walk along the lake, and soon she could walk 2 kilometers before stopping to rest. Knowing that someday, soon, I would have to fend for myself, she taught me how to cook. And I'm really enjoying cooking. I didn't think I would. We started going to movies again and to Stratford and to friends' cottages for the day. My wife was tired, but with each passing week, she had more energy and endurance. Life was good. But in September, my wife's energy and endurance began to decrease. On October 4th, despite all my wife's predictions that she wouldn't live that long, we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. I rented a big banquet facility. I did it a year and a half before the actual event. She hated me for doing it. She said she wouldn't be there, but I did it anyway. When the time came, we invited as many old friends, neighbors, family, former co-workers as the venue could hold, and my wife was radiant and in her glory. After dinner, I told the story about how Jeannie and I had met, a very romantic story. There's not time enough here today to go into that. I ended my anniversary speech with a toast to my wife, my best friend, my inspiration, the love of my life, and a truly remarkable and very brave woman. She received a standing ovation. We were experiencing the greatest challenge we had ever had to face, but we were doing so with grace, elegance, and humor. Gilda Radner's life story was all about humor in the face of adversity. And believe me, we needed it. 3 weeks after our 50th wedding anniversary party, my wife collapsed. I called 911. She was taken to hospice care at Toronto East General Hospital. We knew that she would not be coming home. Every year, Gilda's Club invites one family to tell their story. This year, the focus was about caregivers, and we were considered, our family, to be an exemplary example of how a family can work together to do it well. My son Alex and I told my wife's story at the Gilda's Club fundraiser November 20th. This is the It's Always Something show at the Sony Center. We were on stage before a sold-out audience of 3,150 people. I'm still amazed that we did it. My son and I were not nervous because we felt the warmth radiating from the audience. Our family is so lucky to have had this kind of support network, and we don't take it for granted. In the palliative care wing at the Toronto East General, my wife was the only patient we could see that was almost never alone. A measure of how many people that she had influenced during her life is in the outpouring of over 700 messages, letters, and cards we received before and following her death. After she died on December 15th, my daughter and son and I talked it over, and then we called and accepted all the invitations we had been turning down for the holidays. We were surrounded by friends and family the whole holiday season. It was the best thing we could have done to help us begin our recovery. We held our own family private service immediately after she died. My wife had told us she wanted a public celebration of her life like an Irish wake with an open bar, not in a church or a funeral home. So just 2 weeks ago, on May 24th, we held her memorial service and life celebration at the same banquet hall overlooking Lake Ontario, where we had our 50th wedding anniversary. The place was packed, standing room only. We dealt actively with her grief. We did everything we could to help her, and she knew how much she was loved. I don't feel guilty because I know there was nothing more I could have done. But it's been more difficult for my daughter and son. Losing a mother is very hard. In many ways, it is much harder for them than for me. I'm doing everything I can to help them grieve the loss of their mother. We're spending a lot of time together. We are planning 3 major trips this year, or I should say they planned 3 major trips this year. They wanted to keep me busy, but it's really for their benefit. It's now June 2015, 6 months since my wife died. I've been focusing on the 50 wonderful years we did have together, and not grieving over the times we won't have together in the future. I'm still grieving, but in my state of grief, I am making progress, seemingly most often to move forward with only the occasional looking back. I'm selling my house on the beach to my son Alex and his wife Kaylee. I'm buying a condo in Market Square and will be moving there in August. People ask me how I'm doing, and I always say the same thing. I'm doing very well, all things considered. My life is continuing to evolve. I'm looking forward to meeting new friends, a woman I can respect, someone I can go out to dinner with and cultural events and to the theater. Someday, if I'm lucky, I may meet someone I can fall in love with and she with me. Life is as good as it can be, all things considered.